So I'm here with Jon and Tim Foreman from Switchfoot, and you guys have a great library of songs. You have great skills songwriting, but you just lent those skills to the new movie Unbroken, Path to Redemption, all about the life of Louis Zamperini. And it's a very moving story, a lot here. So how did you first get involved in this project, and what drew you to this incredible story in the first place?
Yeah, it's an amazing story. The timing of it was funny because we were actually on hiatus. For the first time in 20 years, we pushed the pause button and took a year off the road. And this was about halfway into the hiatus, we got the call asking if we'd be interested in writing the song for the film, which is the story of Lou Zamperini. Incredible story. We kind of grew up hearing it around the house. Basically, this unbelievable tale of a guy who, an Olympic athlete, gets shot down in World War II, survives at sea for 47 days, captured by the Japanese, brutally tortured, and survives and comes home. And that's the first half of the story, and it doesn't stop there. He comes home, gets married, has a kid, and discovers that the war never stopped, that all the battles that he fought overseas, he comes home and they're still raging, only it's worse than ever, and it's all internal. PTSD, before they even had a name for it. He's self-medicating with alcohol. And, you know, you read the story, and I was struck by the commonality between that story and kind of the common American story. You know, you've got this wife trying to hold the family together. You've got alcoholic dad. You've got a kid wondering where he fits into this whole thing, and he finds Christ at a Billy Graham crusade, and has this powerful conversion of forgiveness, where he's able to amazingly forgive specifically the person named the Bird who tortured him brutally for years in Japan, and ends up becoming a public speaker, talking about forgiveness, and is very charitable, and just lives this incredible story. And so when we were asked, you know, would we like to write that song, the answer was yes.
Yeah, and so the song is You Found Me, and it talks a lot about letting go of anger and hurt, and that's where healing comes in. So as you were wrestling with those themes and looking at the story, like, how did that impact even your life as you looked at the story so closely enough to write a song?
Yeah. I think the conclusion I came to is that there's parts of us, for all of us, that we've never encountered, that are hidden, that we don't even know they're there. And ultimately, the verses talk about looking, searching. I'm looking for an answer. I'm looking for healing. And for a believer to say, actually, we have it reversed, that our Maker's actually looking for us, and that there's part of us that is missing until it's found and identified and authenticated by the one who made it, and that part of us then comes to life. And I think there's so many broken places in our country and our world right now that need healing, and I'm excited to sing this truth, you know, that we got a chance to talk about his story in song.
Yeah. What's the reaction been like when you either played the song or even just showed it to people who were involved with the movie? Or, what's the reaction been like overall? Have you had any good stories about it yet, or is it still new?
It's been powerful. We've been a band for a long time, and we've heard some amazing stories through the years, and I'm a big believer in how music can be a catalyst for change. What's unique about this story, both the movie and the song, is the stories that we're hearing coming back from people who have dealt with PTSD or have loved ones who have, and just finding out how widespread that is. You know, it's not limited just to veterans. It's firefighters and policemen and people who have been in traumatic situations. And the film really captures that and is building a bridge between the victims and their loved ones to now talk about this. And so, you know, in some of the screenings, having veterans stand up with tears in their eyes, saying that movie, that song, that gets it, you know, and opening up those pathways of dialogue has been really powerful. And then I think the other big takeaway for me has just been the forgiveness piece. That's such a huge thing. I think we all have things that we're holding on to that are eating us up, and the power to forgive. And for him to forgive this man that specifically made it his mission to break Louis Perini, to torture him, for him to forgive the bird, that's a pretty powerful example.
Oh, it is. I love that. Just the message that you're putting out there that there is hope even in these really tragic stories with PTSD and with veterans, like you're saying, the fact that that's getting to them and showing them hope. Like, I love that. That's so cool. And so you mentioned forgiveness a lot. Something I admire about you two is that you're brothers, you're business partners, you're creative collaborators, and you've worked together for basically your whole life. And I imagine that there'd be a lot of opportunities where you could have just gotten mad at each other, or gotten too annoyed or let something build up. And, then maybe you wouldn't be here.
I like they say that we could have.
You could have.
But potentially
that's never happened.
I'm not implying you're perfect, but you're still here and you're still writing music. And here you are with this incredible opportunity to write this song for Unbroken. So how has forgiveness played into your relationship just as brothers and as a band? And like how, question. Like what's the secret sauce for, staying on good terms and keeping going?
I do think that whenever there's a disagreement or an argument, usually the friction and the tension there is all we can focus on as a negative. I think sometimes when I'm reminded that the passion behind the two people involved that creates the friction, the passion is a beautiful thing. I've had the privilege of having solo albums and working with other musicians, and when it's not my brother playing the bass and I say, hey, can you try this? There's no friction. They're like, sure, yeah, I'll do that. Whereas when I say that to Tim, he has an opinion, he has a view, and he's coming from a matter of, no, I'm going to be playing this every night. I actually care. And that when I remind myself of where the friction is coming from, it can help me see it as a positive thing. And I think as a nation, we are torn apart by our lack of ability to listen to each other and to come to terms with the fact that as wrong as I think you might be in your views, you are made in the image of the maker. And you are actually, whether or not I believe you're right in where you're coming from, your voice deserves to be heard, and I need to listen to it. I have something to learn, and that in that exchange, even just listening, suddenly there's a respect that you now can listen to what I have to say. So I think that's something that we've learned is not the absence of fighting, but how to fight well, because the friction will come up. We will disagree. Tension will rise. But the way that we handle ourselves in that situation, that's what we have control of.
Yeah, and I think an expectation that you might actually learn something, the humility of, I feel like the older I get, the more aware I am that I don't know everything. When you're a teenager, you think you do.
Right.
And I think to take that into, a disagreement is a beautiful thing. To yes, I believe that I'm right about this, but I think I'm also going to learn something. Let's talk.
Yeah, that humility thing is huge, and I like how you said it. Just when you're disagreeing, it means at least they care.
You actually care. Yeah,
well,
you're
that's
passionate.
A good way to look
good.
at
Let's
it.
Start there. I am too.
Yeah.